One second. Hi. Welcome to Queens on the Grid. I'm your friendly trackside New Yorker KP. And today, we're breaking down everything that's happened in Formula One so far this season. Whether you've been watching Formula One for 20 years or this is your very first season, welcome to the pit crew. And if you're here for the racing, the strategy, or just to survive another Ferrari strategy call, you're in the right place. Lights out, and away we go. As it stands, Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli have been setting the pace this season. Antonelli has taken an enormous leap in just his second year, and together they've become the benchmark every team is trying to beat. Ferrari, meanwhile, have shown flashes of race-winning pace. Lewis Hamilton has looked more and more comfortable in red, and with recent upgrades, the Scuderia finally seem to have a car capable of fighting at the front. But as we head into Hungary and the summer break, one question hangs over the championship. Has Mercedes already built too much an advantage, or is Ferrari finally ready to mount a serious title challenge? To answer that, let's take a look at what's defined this season so far. When the lights went out in Australia, Mercedes immediately showed they weren't just contenders under the new regulations. They were the team to beat. George Russell opened the season with a commanding victory, finishing 15 seconds clear of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, and from there, the momentum only grew. Kimi Antonelli backed it up with an incredible run, winning 5 of the first 6 Grand Prix and establishing himself as the championship favorite almost overnight. But championships aren't won in the opening 6 races. Ferrari have steadily chipped away at Mercedes' advantage, with Lewis Hamilton taking his first victory in red at Catalunya before Charles Leclerc followed it up with a win at Silverstone. Suddenly, what looked like a runaway championship has started to feel like a genuine fight. That brings us to Hungary, the final stop before F1 heads into its summer shutdown. Now, the Hungaroring has traditionally rewarded cars with strong slow speed performance and race execution, making it a fascinating test for two teams arriving with very different momentum. Mercedes still hold the advantage, but Ferrari finally look like they have the pace to ask some difficult questions. So pit crew, who's really heading into the summer break with the upper hand? Now look, when people talk about Mercedes leading both championships, it's easy to focus on just the car. But I think we'd be doing Kimi a disservice if we didn't stop and appreciate just how remarkable his season has been. This is a 19-year-old from Italy who's walked into F1 like he's been there for years. Week after week, he's qualifying at the front, racing with confidence, carrying himself like the pressure doesn't exist. And honestly, every Saturday, bro, when qualifying comes around, I look where the Ferraris are at, then my eyes I go take a look at Kimi and his timing screen and how impressive he's been. But Kimi's not the only story this year. Lewis Hamilton. I think somewhere along the way, people forgot who Lewis Hamilton is. The move to Ferrari came with enormous expectations. Every weekend there were questions. Has he still got it? Can he adapt? Was the timing right? And for a while, it was a fair ask. But over these last few races, it feels like something has clicked. The Ferrari curse, Kardashian curse, whatever people wanted to blame, Lewis doesn't seem too concerned about any of it. He's remembered who he is, a 7-time world champion chasing number 8. And somehow, winning that 8th title in Ferrari red would feel like his first all over again, because some championships are measured by trophies and others are measured by legacy. But Formula One is never just about 2 drivers or 2 teams. Every season has its surprises and its disappointments. So let's take a look at the teams and drivers that have exceeded expectations and the ones still searching for answers. Drivers make a difference on Sundays, but championships are built back at the factory. And outside of Mercedes, I don't think there's a team that's been moving in the right direction more than Ferrari. I've already talked about Lewis Hamilton settling into Ferrari and Charles Leclerc continuing to extract everything the car has to offer, but the biggest improvement hasn't come from either driver. Back in January, Ferrari made a decision that could define this era of Formula One for them. Reports emerged that key technical personnel from their dominant World Endurance Championship program would be moving over to support the Formula One team. At the time, it sounded like an interesting headline. Now, it looks like a turning point. The pit stops have been cleaner, the strategy calls have been more decisive, the setups have looked stronger from Friday all the way through Sunday. It's not perfect yet, but it's a Ferrari team that finally feels like it's learning from its mistakes. Sorry, Charles.
Stay out.
And with the team's performance over the first half of the season thus far, I think we've got a real chance to see Ferrari actually win another championship. So heading into the summer break, for the first time in a long time, I genuinely believe Ferrari has a real chance to win another F1 World Championship. And that means drivers and constructors. I'd also like to take a moment to talk about Alpine. They finished at the bottom of the Constructors Championship last year. Yet heading into Hungary, they're tied with Racing Bulls for 5th. That's not just a turnaround, that's a complete 180, and honestly, I don't think enough people are talking about it. The biggest difference hasn't necessarily been one magical upgrade or one breakthrough weekend, it's been consistency. They're putting themselves in positions to score points more often, making fewer costly mistakes, and when opportunities have come their way, they've actually capitalized on them. No, they're not fighting Mercedes or Ferrari every weekend, but that's not the expectation. Formula One isn't always about who wins. Sometimes it's about who improves the most, and Alpine might have the strongest case for that this season. Of course, for every team climbing up the order, there's another wondering how it all started to go wrong. Aston Martin. Ugh. Where do we even begin? The Adrian Newey signing, questions surrounding the Honda power unit, the inconsistent race pace, Fernando Alonso trying to drag this car into the points every weekend, and Lance Stroll. Don't even get me started. Aston Martin have been sliding down the Constructors Championship ever since that incredible start back in 2023. Back then, they looked like a team ready to challenge the very best. Fast forward to today, and it feels like they're searching for answers every single race weekend. Now, to be fair, there are reasons for optimism. Adrian Newey isn't someone you judge after half a season. His influence is measured in years, not months. And with Honda joining the project, there's clearly a long-term vision. But that's exactly why the season has been so disappointing so far. The expectations were enormous, and right now, the results simply aren't matching them. Nobody expected Aston Martin to be fighting for championships this year, but I also don't think anyone expected them to be asking so many questions halfway through the season. Is this just a transition year? Or is Aston Martin's project in deeper trouble than we thought?
Box. Pit this lap.
Alright, pit crew. Box. Let's talk strategy. The difference between winning and finishing second isn't always raw pace. More often than not, it's decision making. Mercedes have become the benchmark this season, not just because they've built an incredibly fast car, but because they've consistently made the right calls at the right time, whether it's committing to an undercut, extending a stint when the tires still have life left, or reacting instantly to changing weather conditions. They've rarely found themselves on the back foot. Ferrari, on the other hand, also deserves a lot of credit. One race that really stood out to me, Spa. Charles immediately reported the changing grip levels over the radio, and instead of hesitating, like always, Ferrari reacted for once. It's exactly the kind of decisive communication that we've been asking to see for years, and it helped secure another podium. And then there's McLaren, who have reminded us that strategy can't always overcome a lack of qualifying pace. You can make every perfect call on Sunday, but if you're spending the first 20 laps fighting through traffic, you're already asking far more of your tires than the cars at the front. That's why strategy fascinates me so much. The fastest car doesn't always win. The best driver doesn't always win. Sometimes, the smartest team does. Which brings us to today's checkered flag. Now, as of this recording, Practice 1 and Practice 2 have already concluded, with Ferrari topping the timesheets in both sessions. With that being said, though, I personally am not falling for it yet. The Hungaroring has been compared to a go-kart circuit for years. It's tight, technical, low speed, overtaking's never easy. On paper, that should play right into Ferrari's hands, given the characteristics of this year's car, but I won't count Mercedes nor Kimi out for putting the W17 on pole tomorrow. I think tomorrow's pole definitely is going to come down to the two-way fight between Mercedes and Ferrari. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kimi steals it at the very end. But if I had to lock in my own prediction, I think Lewis pole, Kimi second, Charles third. Sorry, Charles.
I am stupid. I am stupid.
Now it's your turn, pit crew. Who do you think's taking pole tomorrow? Who's winning Sunday? And this is my personal favorite question. Who, outside of the top 3 teams, have impressed you so far? If you enjoyed hanging out with me today and you want to follow the rest of the season together, consider joining the pit crew by hitting that subscribe button. I'm your friendly trackside New Yorker KP, from Queens to the Grid.